Excuse me. Now, tools you will need for this are many and varied. Now, if you can borrow some, all the better. What I've got in here, as you can see at the moment, is my temporary storage receptacle. We have the trusty old drill. Now, you don't need to go, if you haven't got these tools, you don't need to go high-end with these. I do a lot of handiwork around the house, so I like a good drill. I've also got the sander. That'll be for final finishing and everything. Jigsaw. Again, it's not a very expensive one, but it does the trick. Just make sure you've got a few blades on hand, because... Alright, catch. As far as this wood goes, it does tend to wear out the blades relatively quickly and becomes prone to catching and giving you a bit of a rip rather than a cut. But the best thing I can recommend is this. The old circular saw. Now, I'd never used one of these before, and I've picked this up from Bunnings for $49.95, and I have to say it's the best $49.95 I've spent, because just look at the edges that you get. Smooth, straight, no jaggies. This corner there was done with the jigsaw, but all the other long cuts, particularly on the back, was done with the circular saw. And not only does it give you nice and straight cuts, it cuts through them like butter. So it's very, very good, very, very worthwhile, and it'll save a lot of frustration. Now, on that point, you mustn't overlook safety, because even though Tim the Toolman Taylor would always make fun of it, the truth is safety is no joke. So with the circular saw particularly, you need hearing protection. You also need goggles. These goggles, they do nothing. And breathing mask, because the amount of dust this MDF chucks up is unbelievable. It's just freaking amazing. The garage, can't see it, looks clean, but there's still about a 3mm coverage of dust, and it was literally nearly knee deep in dust the other day. Well, not quite knee deep, but lots and lots of dust, so it's not much fun. Other bits and pieces in here have all of the goodies. Look at that one in a sec. Here, buttons and more buttons. So these are your buttons. These should only cost you between $2 and $4 each, with the micro switch. The micro switch is not in there, but they're your classic arcade style buttons. I've ended up buying far too many. I'm probably going to have about 20 spare buttons. Don't know what that was. These are your micro switches. They just clip in there, and that little orange bit, clicky clicky, that's what sends the signal via two of these posts. One is not used, but I'll explain that as we get to the wiring control panel. So basically you pop them in there, in the buttons, pop them in your control panel, or wire them to your little magic encoder, which I have here somewhere. Here, these are really cool. The joysticks. So these are nice and authentic, so you can just imagine them sitting there. Underneath you've got a 4-way and an 8-way restrictor plate. So if you want to be authentic with, say, Pac-Man, you'd switch your restrictor plate to the top bit, and it only comes off with 2 screws, and you slide it down. That just restricts the angle movement of the joystick. Again, if you wanted to play Qubit that required the angle movement, then you would leave it at the 8-way. Now, some purists would say you'd need a dedicated stick on an angle for Qubit with a 4-way restrictor, so that essentially you're moving angle-wise, but it's just too much hard work if you want to have more than one game in your arcade cabinet. And let's face it, most of us are only going to have one cabinet, possibly 2 if we're lucky, with lots and lots of games. So what you want to look for is versatility, but without going silly. So you're not going to have 17 different controls set up on your control panel, or you look like a bit of a fool, for want of a better word. Wiring harness, yay. There's going to be a lot of wiring, but if you get it from places like Ozstick, ozstick.com.au, or intoamusements.com.au, that's IN2 amusements.com.au. They come wired with these kits, so those black ones, or your grounds, you can just daisy chain them all along and makes life nice and simple because they've got the little connectors, which is fantastic. And here, what have we got? More buttons and micro switches. As you can see, I've gone crazy. So here's a button with a micro switch connected. So you can hear it, and you can even see it. Okay, there we go. Can you? There we go. So I think I'm going to have to put the micro switches in after the buttons are mounted on the control panel, which is fiddly, but my system of mounting the control panel, if it comes off, will make life a bit easier, hopefully. I've got the controller here somewhere. Here it is. So it's been a bit of a mess because I have to clean up hastily because I have to get 2 cars in the garage, and while I couldn't before. This is the iPack controller. A lot smaller than I anticipated. All of the wires from the control panel, like the sticks, the buttons and everything, go into here. They're all marked. You've got your ground on either side, and then you've got like one right, one left, one up, one down, blah blah blah. They're pretty self-explanatory. All the others you sort of look at and you go, but basically it's giving up to 8 buttons per player, and you can grab some information about, well, I'll give you some information about that down the track as we come to wiring it, because that will be probably the most, well, I'd like to say fun, but I know I'm just lying if I say that, probably tedious part. Just some basic speaker covers from Jaycar, $12.95 a pair, 6.5 inch. They'll go up on the speaker panel. That way it just gives a nice clean finish, because I toyed with the idea of maybe using like speaker grill cloth to put up there, but then I went and bought 3 meters of it and a staple gun, and then I thought, well, you're an idiot because you didn't measure it, and now you don't need it. So I don't know, 3 meters might make a nice dress or something, but I don't make dresses, so I don't know why I said that. Anyway, if you've got those speaker covers, it just looks a lot better, and it looks a bit more professional and just hides any ugliness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount them on the speaker thing, and then behind it on the inside I'll run some of that speaker cloth, which is quite dark, and staple it around the place. That will just stop being able to see through the grills and seeing the speakers, and because I'm one for neatness and you know, the final product, so it's not necessary that's what I'll do. I'm raving on. I will explain that as we get further along.